aBIRD is in the house. Adam has been a guest before. We've had him many times on the show. Great musician, great personality. I didn't even know you were a musician until we had you on the show, so we really appreciate you coming on.
When did you find out I was a personality?
When you told me you had released a single and I went and heard it, but then you're like, oh, I'm making an album. And then every week I see you performing live.
I perform a lot. I try to.
So I'm very excited to have you on the show today. Your new album is Hard Times Between Two Dimensions. So just to put it out there, at first it sounds like it could be like a Cro-Mags cover album, but then he goes like weird and crosses into some space age. Adam plays this wonderful version of electronica that, as we're going to see tonight, he can strip it down to acoustic. I find that it's a nice cross between Depeche Mode and The Faint with a little bit of old school Ministry mixed in. Does that sound fair?
That's fair. It's funny because I don't know when people ask me what it sounds like, I don't know who to cite exactly because I always grew up liking electronic music, but it was not my wheelhouse. It was always like one or two things I liked. So I don't have this like laundry list of influences to call from. I got into it through like Massive Attack and Air and Radiohead and a little bit of The Cure, So I don't know. I don't think I sound like any of those.
And to be fair, neither me nor Hambone will ever ask an artist on this show who their influences are.
Exactly.
We know better.
Yeah, but it's just that question, like,
but there is a sound though. But if I want to explain it to the listeners at home, you want to hear this. Here's what it sounds.
Yeah.
And I don't think those are necessarily your influences. As a critic, those are the bands. It kind of illusions. It casts illusions.
Sounds good, man. Go for it.
See, in the early 2000s, it was interesting because if you said, "Oh, what does your band sound like?" everybody would say, "Oh, we sound like we don't sound. It's like Radiohead." And to me, that was always like the biggest cop-out answer. So the fact that you came up off of Massive Attack and Air.
There you go.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
10 points for Gryffindor.
To be fair, aBIRD is a man at a time. I mean, this album, if it came out like 10 years ago, when The Faint and all those bands were hitting, probably would be huge. Hopefully, it will be huge again as we promote the hell out of it.
We'll see.
But anyway, can you tell us a little bit about how the album came to be, what you were thinking about when you made it? I think it's 7-song. We would have called it an EP, an extended play back in the day.
It's right at the cusp of whether or not it's an LP or an EP, so I don't know. I'm just calling it a record to avoid that.
It doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. The last time a band... It's funny because bands now put out either you're like King Gizzard and you put out 5 records in 1 year, or you're putting out like 8-song albums. So I don't know. That old like number of like 12 or 10 that you would like stick on with like, oh, all bands put out 12. Oh, this band put out... I remember the first time I saw a record that put out 14 songs, I was like, holy crap, what the hell is this?
But there is a point of too much of a good thing.
Absolutely.
The Rancid albums, when they were hitting like 18, 22 songs, and you get lost halfway through.
See, for me, for the most part, I would say, well, Out Come the Wolves as a very long record is a perfect record.
But
front
it's
to back.
long.
It's long. It is long. It was funny the other day, George Claus and I were walking, we went out and grabbed something to eat, and we were talking about double albums and triple albums. I said, man, double albums and triple albums are bullshit. Give me a tight 10 and call it a day. That said, I prefer you put out 6 songs. They're perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, this album came together. I started writing it when my previous band, Those Mockingbirds, was maybe going to do a second record. So I started writing a bunch of songs, and then the band kind of fell apart. And I kept writing songs, and I was starting to write more with keyboards, a lot more. And once the band wasn't there anymore, I just started running in that direction further and further, and really enjoyed it. And it was, it was cool. I wrote as a combination of guitar and piano, but that was the first time I ever did that. I've written everything else previously on just guitar, and it was really fun to not like I can kind of play piano, but I don't really know what I'm doing, so that makes it more of a blank slate when I'm writing. I don't really have like patterns in my head that like, oh, that's gonna that's going to sound like this. It's just like,
But you do have not. I mean, there's a heavy piano. Well, piano's the word. There's electric sound on your music that's unmistakable. Is that a band? Is that you performing?
that's me doing everything, I think, with except for Nick. Nick is my bandmate who performs with me live. He plays something, I think, on every song, and then we had Kevin Walters, who was the drummer of those Mockingbirds. He played drums on some of the tracks, but otherwise it's all me.
Very, very cool. We talked a little bit about the bands that this kind of sounds like. The one thing that I really noticed about it was there is it's very poppy and happy. The music sonically sounds like I feel good music. Like, I want to feel good. I listen to this album, but then I listen to some of those albums. I mean, some of those song titles are right out there too. There's definitely an aggressive sound to it lyrically. Is that something you purposely try to do? Were you trying to kind of meld the happy music with the fuck you sound, the lyrics?
It's not like a conscious thing I set out to do. It's just what comes out. I've always just been a fan of. I think, like, writing wise, what always stuck out to me the most is, Paul McCartney or Fleetwood Mac or something like that. So melodically, I gravitate that way. But then when I want to say something, it's all pissed off and angry at the world.
Well, it's interesting, even like a Cool Island song, which was the first track that I'd heard way back when you started demoing and started getting the record ready.
I sent you stuff early on to be like, hey, Hambone, tell me what I'm doing isn't insane.
No, and I told you flat out, I said, hey, this is wildly different. A lot of people aren't going to know what kind of box to put it in because they're so used to those Mockingbirds. That said, it was brave. It was a big departure for you, and I think it's paid off in spades.
Well, I think a Cool Island song was the one I was specifically thinking of.
You heard that one, yeah.
And I'm like, the lyrics, well, that and fuck you and you and you and Paludo. I mean,
Cool Island song's about doing drugs.
Okay.
It's about, it's about drinking ocean water and it poisoning your brain, and you hallucinate this whole thing and you're not sure if it really happened or not.
I really thought it was a tiki song for us.
It is a tiki song. Well, you hallucinate the tiki stuff.
So where do you go from here? What's the next year going to be for aBIRD?
A lot of
or
shows.
aBIRD. What do you prefer us?
The group name is aBIRD, the group of me and Nick. But a lot of shows, and I have a lot of music I'm still working on, so I'm not going to say when something new is going to happen, but there will be new stuff coming up soon too. But just shows and more music coming.
Do you have a full band up for the stage show, or is it just you and Nick?
It's me and Nick, and we do everything with our space age technology toys.
That is awesome. What song are you going to perform for us tonight?
The Creatures We Ignore.
When we come back, you're going to hear The Creatures That We Ignore acoustic, which is going to be very, very cool, by aBIRD. aBIRD, thank you for joining us. Stick around. We got a lot of cool stuff happening. Get the album Hard Times in 2 Dimensions. Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you.
Stage battlegrounds, the meaning's lost on me. It's been so hard to lay it out. Maybe we should ask ourselves, are we all afraid at the end we'll be lonely? Are we all afraid at the end? Sit down and lay it out like a map of the sea. It's been hard on any ground. It's been lost to history. outside our door. Oh, we're the creatures we ignore, but the ones we should adore. I try to remember that I saw in you. I'm feeling untasted on my tune. I doubted all easy in the end you. Am I rotting or aging? Oh, are we all afraid at the end we'll be lonely? Are we all afraid at the end? Oh, we'll be lonely. And are we all afraid at the end? Oh, we'll be lonely. Are we all afraid at the end? We'll be lonely. And we won't matter anymore. The creatures we ignore, right outside our door. The creatures we ignore, but the ones we should adore.
Yeah.
Перебиты, поломаны крылья, серой болью всю душу свет.